Hey there, webheads and true believers. Now, as a big fan of the Amazing Spider Man series, I always wondered how things would have played out if the movies were never cancelled. I mean, how would have the Sinister Six been set up? How would Peter deal with Gwen's death? Who was the gentleman in the hat? And how was he connected with the parents of Peter Parker? So I did my research on the gentleman known as Gustav Fiers and created my own plot and my own take of how the movies such as Sinister Six and The Amazing Spider Man 3 would have ended. Okay, let's get started with Sinister Six, which would have been released in 2016, 2 years after The Amazing Spider Man 2. But in the series, the Sinister Six movie is just a couple of months after the events of The Amazing Spider Man 2. So Harry Osborn would actually be the leader of the team, and right now he's at Ravencroft in a cell. Rhino would be the second member, but he's in Ravencroft too right now. Kraven would be the third member, and he's a famous African hunter, a huge TV star. Dr. Octopus, aka Dr. Octavius, would be a scientist at Oscorp. Vulture, aka Adrian Toombs, would be another scientist at Oscorp. And the final member would be Quentin Beck, but he's Mysterio and a bit of Chameleon. So instead of just having just a Chameleon or Mysterio, we just kind of mix those characters up. He's like a great magician, a very famous magician, but he's really good at master disguise too. So the movie starts out with Harry in the Ravencroft prison and Gustav Fiers, the gentleman, he's visiting Harry and they're talking about a potential prison break to get Harry out of there. And Gustav Fiers is like, yeah, we've got some possible candidates to break you out. And that's where, bam, the Sinister Six logo comes in. And right after that, actually, if you guys remember, in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the whole fight with Rhino and Spidey. So it might have a flashback. Otherwise, there would be no indication of what happened at the end of the fight. We all kind of just see that Rhino, he's in the same Ravencroft prison, and you would just assume that Spider-Man beat him up and put him in prison, and his Rhino suits in Ravencroft too. So then we continue the movie into New York, where there's an introduction with Kraven the Hunter. So Kraven is a famous TV star, a famous TV hunter star that comes to New York and he wants to show his talents to the American audience. And he's gotten this um, deal with the TV producers. And he shows them his stuff and he shows them that, he hunts animals and, he's very popular in Africa. But these TV producers, they don't really like Kraven and they're like, the American viewers, they won't really enjoy this type of stuff. Sorry, I mean, no disrespect. You're a great hunter, but we don't think it's going to work. You're not money. And this kind of upsets Kraven. But at the same time, with their meeting, on the TV, the news, it shows Spider Man swinging in the city. And now these guys, the producers are like, yeah, now that's a guy that can make a lot of money, Spider Man. And they're kind of impressed with Spider Man. And Craven just kind of shrugs it off and he's like, "What? You guys are impressed by that thing?" And Craven's like, "You know what? I could hunt him. I could prove that I'm the best hunter. I can hunt him down. He's nothing special." And so that's where the producer's like, "Oh, that could be money. That could be something." So that's where the producers hype it up and they're like, it's going to be the hunter from Africa, Kraven the Hunter, will challenge the great Spider Man and they will try to broadcast that on TV. Now, on the other hand, we go over to Oscorp, And now, because Harry's in jail, Norman Osborn's dead. Who owns Oscorp? And the man named Mencken owns Oscorp, if you guys remember him from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And at Oscorp, Dr. Octavius works there as a scientist. And he's a very shy guy. He's very, quiet. He's nice. He's into his own thing. He's always at Oscorp labs experimenting, and he uses these metal arms to help him experiment other things, substances, and he uses them safely. On the other hand, there's another scientist named Adrian Toomes, and he invented something, but Mencken, the CEO, he steals the designs or something and fires Adrian, and he doesn't really like Adrian. And Adrian gets very, very butthurt about that. So one day, Gustav Fiers knocks at Adrian's door, and Adrian opens and he's like, "Who are you?" And the gentleman's like, "I can help you," and everything. And Adrian thinks it's really weird, and he just tries to, like, he's like, "Back off, get out of here." And the gentleman says, "I know you don't like Mencken from Oscorp, and I can get your designs back for you. I can help you get your revenge." And Adrian likes this. So he invites the gentleman into his house, and they talk it over, and the gentleman brings this big package which has the vulture wings, and he's like, "You can get your revenge from Mencken. I'll help you out." And of course, Adrian takes the wings and he wants to take out Mencken, and that's what he does. So one day he goes over to Oscorp with his vulture wings and he tries to attack Mencken, and that's where Spider-Man's swinging, and he tries to stop Vulture from attacking Mencken and all these other innocent people that work at Oscorp. But at the same time, Dr. Octavius is working on an experiment, and he doesn't have any clue what's going on, that this thing called the Vulture is attacking. And so Spider-Man and Vulture are just kind of fighting, and somehow their fight interferes Dr. Octavius's experiment. And Dr. Octavius has these metal arms onto him, right? And he's just picking up these chemicals and stuff. And as Vulture and Spider-Man are fighting, it just, like, this huge accident happens, which causes a huge explosion. And Dr. Octavius gets these arms stuck to him. And he's just screaming in agony. And then Dr. Octavius just blacks out. Now, you gotta remember that the gentleman, he can go into Oscorp and he can get these vulture wings or whatever equipment from Oscorp and get away with it because he's been a long-time employee for Oscorp. So Vulture gets defeated by Spider-Man and he gets taken into Ravencroft too. And for Dr. Octavius, he's in a hospital and he wakes up and he's just terrified. He's terrified that he has these arms attached to him, and he's like, "Why can't I get these things off?" And he's spazzing out, and he escapes the hospital, and he's just terrified, and he's angry, and he finds out that somehow it's Spider-Man's fault. It was his fault. He's the reason why he's got these arms, these monsters stuck to him, and he wants to have his revenge now. So Doc Ock lays a mini plan on catching Spider-Man and getting his revenge. And so one day he finds Spider-Man and he starts attacking him. And Spider-Man's kind of confused. He's like, "Why are you attacking me?" And Doc Ock is like, "I want my revenge." And Spider-Man's like, "What are you talking about?" and stuff like that. And then he kind of realizes that a scientist was in an accident. And he's like, "Look, Doc, I want to help you. We can help you." And Doc Ock is just, he's angry and rage. And he's attacking Spider-Man. And he hurts a lot of innocent civilians. And this one innocent girl is stuck in this car and she's just trapped. And Spider-Man's trying to help her. But Doc Ock's keep on just fighting and fighting, and somehow Spider-Man manages to defeat Doc Ock. And then, guess who comes by? Kraven the Hunter. And he's all ready, and there's like cameras all over the place, like the media's there. And now there's this fight between Kraven and Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's like, no, I gotta save this girl. And he's just trying to save this girl, but Kraven's just like ambushing Spider-Man, attacking him. And Spider-Man just kind of like does this one punch or this one move, and it lays Kraven out cold, clean. And everyone's kind of like shocked that this great iconic hunter is defeated by Spider-Man. And Spider-Man saves this girl, and then the police come, and the police arrest Doc Ock, and the police arrest Kraven for not letting Spider-Man save this girl before. So now we go to a theater where Quentin Beck is performing this magic show. And Quentin Beck is one of the greatest illusionists in the world. And he's so good at disguising and putting on these magic shows, expensive ones too, right? And one day, Quentin is like to his TV producers, he's like, you know what? We need to make a lot of money. And I need to make myself even more famous. And Spider-Man's a very popular topic right now, and there's been so many guys that have been attacking him and trying to claim them as their trophy. And he tells the producers that he can easily take down Spider-Man if we actually devoted this show for Mysterio to take down Spider-Man, and it just kind of shows his illusions and everything like that. And these TV show guys are like, you know what, that's a perfect idea. And they're very confident about it, and Mysterio is very confident about it. So Mysterio goes into the media, and they start playing commercials, and they start hyping it. And Mysterio, so similar like Kraven at the beginning, he says he challenges Spider-Man, and he's like, you know what, I want to take you down, Spidey. And one day, Spider-Man goes to the media and he says that, hey, like, I'm not some trophy or anything. Like, I'm just a hero trying to save the day. I'm not, like, here for fame or anything, so I don't want to be any part of it. And then the media goes back to Mysterio, and Mysterio is like, hey, Spider-Man's he's a wussy, and he's afraid of me. He knows I can beat him. And Spidey just kind of ignores that, but like Mysterio is just hyping it up, and he's so cocky, and he's like he knows he can beat Spider-Man. So one day, Mysterio again challenges Spidey, and Spidey doesn't show up. So Mysterio thinks of a plan where he will go to Spider-Man and trap him. So one day he actually brings his like illusion stage into the city. And these illusion stage, it's like it's got these LED screens, but no one can see them. Only Mysterio can see them. And they kind of blend into the city. And he's got these screens all over the city and just all these things. And we've got this whole crowd around the set. No one's in it except for Mysterio. And somehow Spider-Man's just swinging, and he doesn't know about this. And he swings into the set, and his spider senses come off, and he only sees Mysterio. And then the craziest stuff starts happening. Spidey starts seeing these crazy illusions, and he starts fighting off these illusions. And then in the background, he hears the crowd laughing at him. So in reality, Spidey's just kind of punching the air and stuff, but in his mind, he's fighting these epic battles like dragons and these crazy Hollywood expensive illusions, right? And then you see New York just kind of tearing apart and just flying up in the sky. And Spidey is looking for Mysterio, but he hits into this invisible wall. Really, it's this like LED screen, right? The illusion LED screen. And Spidey kind of figures out that this must be an illusion. So he punches through this invisible wall, and everything just kind of shuts down, and this huge LED screen pops up right in front of him, and all the smoke and mirrors they go away, and Mysterio's shocked. And Spidey just kind of goes up to him and he's like, "Look, man, like, I don't want to be any part of this. What did I tell you?" And he just kind of swings off. And the audience is kind of like booing Mysterio. And Mysterio is just so embarrassed. He's just got exposed, you know? This has never happened to him. He was the world's greatest illusionist. And so he goes back with the TV producers, and the TV producers are not fond with him, and they're very disappointed, and they're like, "This is a total waste of money, you're horrible, your act sucked." And they actually fire him, and they're just really mad at him. And Mysterio, he's just he's just devastated about this. And magic is his life, and illusion is his life, and Spidey ruined it for him. So one day, just like the others, the gentleman comes up knocking on Mysterio's door. And again, Mysterio's like, "Hey, who are you? Like, I don't want any paparazzi here and stuff." And Gentleman's like, "No, I'm here to give you a deal." And he's like, "I need your help." And he's like, you can still become the greatest illusionist ever. You need to help me break my men out of jail. And Mysterio's like, "Okay, that seems fun. I like that idea." And the gentleman's like, "Here, you break these men out. I will give you a lot of money. I will help you with your fame. And as a whole team, we can take down Spider-Man." So now the whole plan is, so five of the members, Rhino, Kraven, Doc Ock, Vulture, and Harry, they're all in prison. They're at Ravencroft. And Gentleman and Mysterio, the outside guys, are going to try to break them out of prison. So that's the whole idea now. So the Gentleman goes back to Ravencroft, and he goes to Harry's cell, and he's like, "Harry, it's time to go with our plan. It's time to do our prison break. So I need you to befriend these four guys that are in prison." And he tells Harry about their information and everything. And so now we kind of see Harry's side, where Harry is trying to befriend all these four guys in prison. And these four guys are kind of like, eh. And the gentleman does the same. So he goes to Kraven's cell, he goes to Rhino's cell, he goes to each one of their cells, and he tells them about this plan. And he tells them that he's going to break them out, but in return, he wants to defeat Spider-Man. And they're like, "You know what, that's fine. We just want to get out of here. We want to kill Spider-Man too." Now, back in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, when Harry helped Electro get out of jail, ever since then, Ravencroft, they've been very, very heavily guarded with a lot of soldiers and guards. So it's very, very, like, there's so many soldiers there. So it would be very impossible for a prison break. So the plan is, Mysterio is going to go through the front gate of Ravencroft and try to illusionize the guards and just go into this special projects room, which is similar to Oscorp, but this is where Rhino's suit is stored, and this is where Harry's glider is stored. This is where some of Kraven's weapons are stored, and this is where Vulture's wings are stored. And then Dr. Octavius, his arms are still on Doc Ock's body, but they've been locked, and so the keys are in this room. So Mysterio needs to go all the way up to this room, open that room up, and just escape. And the five guys need to get out of their cells and go into that room, and they have to try to get out thereon. And so now we go into the five guys' point of view, their daily routine in the jail, and they connect with each other, you know, and during cafe lunchtime, they sit with each other, they stand up for each other when other prisoners try to bully them around. Sometimes there are problems, like for example between Dr. Octavius and Rhino, and they don't really get along with each other, but they know at the end of the day that if they work as a team, that's their ticket out of jail. And we kind of see this little a mini scene where it's like five of these guys are in a circle, and this therapist is just kind of talking to them and asking about their feelings. And all five guys, they're 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 not very happy, and they're very angry, and they're very monstrous, and they just talk about having revenge and talk about having this big day coming. And the therapist is kind of creeped out about that, but everything gets all settled. And the funny thing is, actually, they're all wearing these orange jumpsuits too. But finally, the day comes, and everything goes well planned, right? They escape. One of them escapes the prison, and they free the other guys out. And they know that the Mysterio guys is gonna go into the room, and he's gonna open it up, and then that's where they go into the room and they put on their gear, and they do that. Everything's going well. They're storming over the guards, and they're working as a great team. And finally, they get out. They're out. They're on the main entrance. And guess who shows up? The Amazing Spider-Man. And this is where all six guys are just like amazed, and they're like, it's time. It's time to destroy the wall crawler. And Spidey's kind of like, oh, what a surprise. But then he sees Harry, and he's not very fond of that because of what happened to Gwen. So right away, he goes for the attack, and Sinister Six go for the attack. And that's where the Sinister Six just completely destroy Spider Man. And they're just beating the poor guy. And Spidey has some offense, but he's more defensive. And he retreats. He runs away. He knows he can't defeat the Sinister Six. And the Sinister Six, they don't chase him. They just kind of stay there. And Harry smiles. All of them smile. And they're all happy. And they're like, we we did it. We got out of prison, and we know we can defeat Spider-Man. And Harry says this line where he's like, you can run, but you can't hide. And that's where the movie ends. So, this movie was basically a character development for all six guys, and a little practice with getting out of jail, and then Spidey showing up, and they defeated Spider Man. So, this is kind of a preview to The Amazing Spider Man 3, but at the same time, a huge character development with all six guys and their origin stories and how they work as a team. So that's the end of this video, guys. And next week, we will be releasing a video of what would happen in The Amazing Spider Man 3 and what's up with Gustav Fiers. What was his problem with Peter Parker? Please like and subscribe, and all of this will be revealed next week. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, webheads and true believers.